965555 Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on a Thursday evening that involves defensive linemen, edge rushers, and linebackers running around in T-shirts and shorts up at Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis. But we all love it. If you love the NFL draft, we got 40-yard dashes. We got vertical jumps. Ladies and gentlemen, we have cone drills. There is a lot to get into. There is a lot to discuss when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Head coach Liam Cohen was on NFL Network earlier today during their combine coverage. We'll certainly talk about that. And we'll talk about some free agent decisions that are going to happen sooner rather than later regarding Christian Kirk, regarding Evan Ingram. And I want to talk about a narrative that I saw today that is out and about in the Jaguar fan base, at least on the Jaguar social media side of the fan base. And I want to kind of air all that out, and we'll have a conversation about it together. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Coming up in about 15 minutes or so, Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team. Marcus does a terrific job really covering all aspects. Combine, free agency, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone. We talk about it all with Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team. He's going to join us coming up here in about 15 minutes. Also, my buddy Jordan de Lugo of Generation Jaguar joins me at the top of the 9 o'clock hour to get his thoughts on everything that has transpired with the Jacksonville Jaguars as of late, and certainly get his thoughts on what's going on up in Indianapolis at the scouting combine. We're with you till 10 o'clock, Jacksonville. As always, we are glad you are spending part of your Thursday evening with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so there's at least a thought out there, and it's one that I'm kind of in the middle of. And I hate to be on both sides of it. I can see one side, I can see the other. And that's a terrible spot to be a sports talk show host on the radio. So maybe I'll pick a side as I'm discussing this with you here on a Thursday evening. You know, Trevor Lawrence is safe as a Jacksonville Jaguar, right? He's not going anywhere. I would think Joshua Hines-Allen is probably safe. Trayvon Walker, yeah. Tyson Campbell, yeah, because of the contract he just signed. Then you really start having a conversation of who else should be safe, right? Anton Harrison, Mason Smith, maybe Foye Oluokun. There are certainly conversations for other guys, but you're only going to get about 10 or 12 deep into the roster of guys that you would have no problem, or you would have a problem if they were no longer here. Translation, James Gladstone, Liam Cohen. There could be a lot of interesting moves coming up in the next 10 days before free agency. Obviously centering around Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, who, as we've talked about a lot, there would be a lot of cap savings if you were to release both guys. I'm personally of the opinion I probably wouldn't release both guys. I got some kickback on that today from some folks, and that's what I want to get into here in a moment. You know, we as a media, you as a fan, I think the collective we, and I've said that a lot this offseason because it's true in a lot of different aspects, we've come to learn, to understand, to just accept as reality There's Jaguar good, right? And there's NFL good. Jaguar good is good for the standards of what has been the worst organization in football for the better part of the last 2 decades. When we see somebody make a play, it's headline news. When we see somebody make a 50-yard touchdown catch, well, then stop the presses. Holy crap. We're going to talk about it for 3 days because that just hasn't happened here very often in the last 20-plus years. That's Jaguar good. Whereas NFL good, you look at the best players in the league, Jefferson, Chase, Tyreek Hill, go on down the line, right? I mean, that's common. Travis Kelce in his prime. Other organizations, other teams have that on a weekly basis. We have something like that on a biannual basis. So when I'm looking at the Jaguar roster right now, February of 2025, I do at least have to remind myself of that. There is Jaguar good, and there's NFL good. How many players on the Jaguars would you consider to be good NFL players? Well, let's count them. Brian Thomas Jr. is a good NFL player. I would say Joshua Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are good NFL players. That's 3. Trevor Lawrence, when healthy, yeah, I think he's good. I'll put him at number 4. Tyson Campbell, he's not a top 5 corner, but I think he's in the top 10, top 15 conversation. He's certainly NFL good. Foye Oluokun tackles everything. So I'll give you those 6. Evan Ingram, yeah, probably among tight ends, yeah. I'm trying to get to 10, guys. That's my point. I'm at 7. Can I get to 10? I don't know if I can. And therein lies the problem. You know, we talk about guys like Ventrell Miller, Devin Lloyd, Darnell Savage, Devon Hamilton, Walker Little, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, right? We talk about them in circles of positivity for the most part because they've been Jaguar good. But are they top 5, top 10, top 15 at their given position in the league? No, they're not. Jaguars don't have a lot of NFL good football players. You know how I know that? Because they've lost 18 of their last 23 games. If you had a surplus of good players that are thought of as good or great players around the league, you would not have lost 18 of your last 23 games. They have a handful, but I would say probably less than 10. So what about the other 43 guys on the roster, which includes a Christian Kirk? I think a lot of those guys are expendable. Now, they can't cut everybody. They can't release everybody. They can't trade everybody. That's not realistic. But I don't think many of you should lose a lot of sleep if they did release a good portion of this roster. And that brings me back to Kirk. I made the point last night that I just don't know if you can upgrade over Christian Kirk realistically with free agents. You're not getting T. Higgins. That's just not going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen. I'm taking him out of the conversation. Cooper Kupp. All right. I mean, clearly he's not what he was a couple of years ago. He's had some injury issues. I think he's over 30 now. I don't necessarily know at this point in his career if he's head and shoulders better than Christian Kirk. He's probably better, but to what extent? Chris Godwin, yeah, that's realistic, but again, he's going to cost a lot. And Marquise Hollywood-Brown, and that's it. Your other free agents, as we talked about last night, Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, DJ Chark. I mean, come on. You take Kirk over all those guys. But Christian Kirk, to me, has been Jaguar good when healthy. He's not among the top 10 or 15 receivers in football. Absolutely not. Now, Brian Thomas Jr. is. Brian Thomas Jr. is NFL good. He's graduated from only being good when it comes to the Jaguar circles. Here's the point in all this. The Jaguars, again, have lost 18 of 23. They got a new GM. They got a new head coach. And I got to stop myself from saying, well, can they do better? Because I think there's a lot of areas they can do better. Can you get better linebacker play? Can you get better cornerback play? Can you get better interior defensive line play? Can you get better interior offensive line play? Can you get better play at wide receiver? Can you get better play at safety? The answer is yes to all of those. Clearly, it's yes. The only positions to me that are untouchable as far as starters go on this football team, quarterback, rush end, wide receiver 1. I'll probably lump running back in there because I think Etienne and Bigsby combined is pretty good. Cornerback 1, I guess if Tyson Campbell can stay healthy, but he's had a hard time doing that. And then tight end 1, yeah, but Ingram's over 30 years old. There's just a lot of places on this team that you can upgrade from Jaguar good to NFL good. And there's very, very few places on this football team currently that I would leave as is because of how dominant they are at their given position. Good rosters don't lose 18 out of 23. So I don't really care if James Gladstone and Liam Cohen and Tony Baselli and all the new people in charge come in and gut this thing. Because it has not worked in the last year and a half. It has been the worst team in football in the last year and a half. Of the 53 guys, there might be 10 untouchables. Everybody else is fair game. Now, they're not going to release or trade 43 guys, but would you really care if they did after losing 18 out of 23? And clearly the two biggest questions when it comes to some of those guys are Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk. Again, both guys are Jaguar good. Are both guys top 10, top 15 of their position? Christian Kirk, I would say no. Evan Ingram probably is. But again, he's not 25 anymore. It is going to be an interesting offseason. Because if the Jaguars want to compete, if the Jaguars want to get back in the thick of it in the AFC South, again, I hear all these people talking about it's a retooling. Jaguars are only a couple of players away. Yeah, well, again, I hate to be the realistic person of the group, but you've lost 18 of your last 23 games. Teams that are, quote, only a couple players away don't lose 18 out of 23. That is just reality, guys. So we'll see what happens when the league calendar begins in less than 2 weeks. It's been a fascinating offseason to this point. Will probably continue to be so. But last thought on this before we go to Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team up in Indianapolis, talking combine, free agency, Jaguars, and everything. I keep Christian Kirk because I think realistically you cannot upgrade over him with people that you would have available. I don't believe T. Higgins will be available. I think Godwin's going to cost too much. Only conceivable realistic scenario is Cooper Kupp, I guess, because of his ties to Gladstone. But even then, I'm not sure because he's got injury problems and he's getting older. Every other free agent available to me is not as good as Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram, it's not a good year for free agent tight ends. And if you cut Evan Ingram, and then I guess you re-sign Luke Farrell, right? I guess that would be the idea. Then you have Brenton Strange, Luke Farrell, and whoever you draft. That doesn't get you any better, in my opinion. I would find a way to keep both guys. Will they do that? I don't know. I was fairly convinced they were going to keep both 4 or 5 days ago. I'm not as convinced about that here on February 27th. That'll be a fascinating situation to watch play out over the next 10 days. Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team does a terrific job covering not only the Combine, but NFL free agency. We're going to talk James Gladstone. We're going to talk Liam Cohen. We're going to talk Trevor Lawrence. And we're going to do it all with Marcus Mosher, terrific NFL writer for the 33rd team. He comes up next. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
They're not geniuses, but somehow they get the job done.
Missed it by that much.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser are The Drill.
Never underestimate great talent, especially mine.
Mornings on 1010XL.
I'm Carl. I'm 68 years old, and I lost 40 pounds thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. And looking at pictures, I realized that my color wasn't good. I looked bloated, constantly tired, out of breath. It got to the point where I decided it was time to pick up the phone and call Awaken 180. The combination of the diet and the coaching really pushed me over the top. My self-confidence soared. I'm walking, I'm working out. Instead of 68, I feel like I'm 28. I just had my annual physical and my doctor looked at my blood pressure and he said, "What did you do? What happened?" And I explained that I'm on the Awaken 180 program. I've never felt so good in my life. And as somebody that sometimes likes to take the shortcut, I didn't have to do that with this program. Awaken 180 is my solution for weight loss.
Carl's solution for weight loss? My solution for weight loss. Matt Hayes here. Lower blood pressure, increased confidence, feeling years younger. Want the same results? Then do what we did and make your own at Awaken180weightloss.com.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Hi, I'm Emily. Thank you to the players for supporting Clark Schools for Hearing and Speech.
Clark helps kids like my daughter Emily, who are deaf or hard of hearing, learn how to listen and talk.
12 more days until the players.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
If you'd like to spend your spring and summer at the ballpark, plan to attend the Jumbo Shrimps Job Fair March 15th at the 5-Star Ballpark. You can learn about the positions offered at jackshrimp.com.
Your love can give pets a purpose. To adopt a loving animal from the Jacksonville Humane Society, call 725-8766. Veterans, first responders, and law enforcement officers deserve the best treatment. That's why ETMS Florida provides a free, drug-free electromagnetic treatment that helps lower symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, insomnia, and depression. Learn more at etmsflorida.com.
Caddyshack Ranch provides a safe, loving, and forever home to endangered big cats. Caddyshack, on the north side of Jacksonville, has helped lions, tigers, and endangered animals for 30 years. Learn how you can visit or help at caddyshackranch.org.
Share your community event at 1010XL.com. This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On February 27, 1959, Boston Celtics point guard Bob Cousy sets NBA record with 28 assists.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville, here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Need or want cash? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Staying Alive, One Night of the Bee Gees comes to Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts March 6th. A tribute like you've never seen before. Staying Alive features the songs and sights of a full Bee Gees playlist, performed live. Experience Night Fever, More Than a Woman, How Deep Is Your Love, and more live on stage. Staying Alive, One Night of the Bee Gees, March 6th at Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets at fscjartistseries.org.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
Is your office productivity running at full speed? Advanced Business Solutions has the solution with Xerox copiers. Whether you need high-volume printing, scanning, or secure document management, Xerox copiers deliver efficiency, quality, and innovation. With features like cloud integration and mobile printing, Xerox is perfect for any modern office. Let ABS help you streamline your workflow. Veteran-owned Advanced Business Solutions.
Advanced Business Solutions. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Boy, what an offseason it has been to this point. A brand new head coach, a brand new general manager, a brand new EVP of football operations for the Jaguars. We got the combine going on. We are, 10 days away from NFL free agency. It has been wild to this point. Let's talk about all of it with Marcus Mosher. You can read his terrific work at the 33rd Team. He's also the host of Locked On Dynasty and the Locked On Cowboys podcast. And Marcus is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Marcus, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I love the combine. I love all the rumors that we get out of Indianapolis. And then as soon as the week ends, we're right into free agency. So it's a good time of the year to be an NFL fan.
No, there's no doubt. And look, I think that it's 53 days since the Jaguar regular season ended, and it doesn't even feel like we've had an offseason here in Duval County. It has been wild. Let's begin with Liam Cohen, Marcus. It certainly wasn't the cleanest process of a coaching search, no question about that. But where it ultimately winded up with Liam Cohen coming to Jacksonville, what was your reaction?
Yeah, so I covered the Cowboys full-time, and this was my number one target for Dallas. I wanted Liam Cohen. I thought he was the best candidate available. And the fact that Jacksonville was able to grab him after a little bit of a strung-out process, but they got him. I love this hire. I thought what he did this year with Tampa Bay, with all of the weapons they had banged up, their offensive line was injured for most of the year, and yet that offense continued to put up a bunch of points. I like where he's been. I like the tree he's been under, the Sean McVay tree. This is one of the more exciting hires we've had in the NFL in a while.
You know, it's good that you say that because, look, it did not start out well. People here wanted Ben Johnson, and the thought is, did Trent Baalke ultimately cost them Ben Johnson? And it appears Baalke was going to cost them Liam Cohen because Cohen pulled his name out, and then like 5 hours later, Baalke was relieved of his duties, and Cohen was back in. And Baalke being out, and James Gladstone, the 34-year-old, I know he's kind of gone viral this week at the Combine with people outside of Jacksonville referencing his age, and he certainly looks even younger than 34. What was your reaction to the Gladstone hire as GM?
Yeah, I happen to know him a little bit, and I love it. I love the direction that Jacksonville's going, getting younger, getting some people in here that maybe are from non-traditional roles in the NFL. I think Jacksonville desperately needed to change the scenery, some different voices in the room, and I think Cohen and then the new GM are really going to help maybe turn the thing around here for the Jags because, man, I love the way that these guys talk about football. I love how flexible they are. I love how innovative they are. I think it's going to take a couple of years for them to truly implement their system, but I love the direction they're heading.
Marcus Mosher is the host of the Locked On Cowboys podcast. You can also read his terrific work at the 33rd Team, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Marcus, you referenced it, but let's throw it out there. There is a youth movement here. Not only a 39-year-old head coach, a 34-year-old general manager. Grant Udinski is a 29-year-old offensive coordinator. That's wild to even say. I guess the elder statesman is Anthony Campanile, the new DC, who's the ripe old age of 42. You got a 34-year-old quarterback coach in Spencer Whipple. I mean, is there such a thing as too young, or do you think that won't be an issue here?
No, I don't think there's anything is too young. We saw Sean McVay win a Super Bowl when he was in his early 30s. Mike Tomlin was one of the youngest coaches in NFL history to win a Super Bowl. That's actually one of the trends that we've seen over the last 2 decades, is that a lot of times these young coaches come in and have a lot of success because they can relate to players. They're not so set in their ways. They're adjustable. They're flexible. This is, if I were running a team, this is the direction that I would want them to take. And I love that Jacksonville's fully leaning into, hey, we needed a youth movement here. Let's not, do it halfway. Let's go all the way. Love it.
The combine going on right now. Let's hit that before free agency, which is 10 or so days away. Your overall thoughts on the draft class? Obviously on the field work in Indianapolis going on right now, but how do you ultimately feel as a whole about this 2025 draft class?
Yeah, the national narrative is that this is a really bad class, and I'm just not quite buying that. I think the top of this draft is just as good as we've seen in other classes. Maybe it doesn't have the quarterbacks of last year's draft, but I think players like Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, those are guys that would go top 5, top 6 in almost any other draft. Now, the depth in the middle part of the first round, I understand it's not great. But for a team like Jacksonville that's drafting at 5, you're absolutely going to get a blue chip player in round 1. And then in round 2, I like the areas of this draft that are deep, that fit Jacksonville's needs. So whether it's Mason Graham at pick 5 or Travis Hunter, I think they're going to get an elite player. I don't think Jags fans need to worry.
Yeah, the Jaguars, again, Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team and Locked On Cowboys podcast with us here on 1010XL. The Jaguars, Marcus, have 10 picks in the first, 10 picks in the entire draft, 6 of which are in the top 125. And you mentioned that number 5 overall selection. It was interesting. I put a poll up last night. I don't think this is going to happen, but if Travis Hunter and Mason Graham are both there, who do Jaguar fans want? Something like 1,000+ people voted, and it was relatively close. I think it was 56-44 in favor of Travis Hunter. Let's begin there. I don't expect Hunter to be there at number 5, but what's your overall thoughts on him as a prospect?
I think Travis Hunter is one of the most unique prospects I've ever seen, because I think he is a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback in the NFL, and we just don't have very many of those. I think his ball skills are absolutely elite. If I were comparing him as a prospect, I think he's pretty similar to Patrick Surtain, who came out of Alabama during the 2021 draft. So that was a defensive player of the year at corner. So that's what I think you're getting on that side of the ball. But I actually think he's a better receiver than he is a cornerback. And I would want him on the field the majority of the snaps on offense, because I think he is a special receiver. He reminds me a lot on that side of Malik Neighbors, who went 6th overall last year in that draft. Just a rare athlete with long arms, good size, unbelievable speed. He is somebody, I know Jacksonville doesn't have a massive need at receiver after drafting Brian Thomas last year. We'll see what happens to Christian Kirk. But if Travis Hunter is there at 5, you don't walk to the podium, you sprint, because that would be a home run pick.
Yeah, well, I want to talk to you about Christian Kirk in a moment, because that's a big topic here. Mason Graham, I think, is much more realistic being there at number 5. Obviously, from the sounds of it, you like him as well.
Oh, I do. I think he's a really disruptive 3 technique who doesn't have the best size. I think he's got some shorter arms. We'll find out today. But you just turn on the tape and you watch him make play after play after play. And if you put him on the same defense with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, and we'll see about Eric Armstead, I mean, I just think that it's a perfect fit. And we saw this year, Philadelphia has the model. If you have a really strong front 4 and you don't need to blitz, you can stay in a lot of games. And I think adding Graham to that defensive line would instantly make it one of the tops in the AFC.
Final draft-related question, Marcus. And again, we don't know what the Jaguars are going to do in free agency. Of course, what they do in free agency will dictate what they do in the draft. But as we sit right now, interior offensive line and safety look like some pretty decent needs for the Jaguars. Not necessarily individual players, but as a whole in this draft class, how would you assess interior O-line and the safety position?
It's not the best interior offensive line class that we've seen. I do think you can get some starters early on in day two. I don't know if there's a round one guard that you would consider. Obviously, Jacksonville won't do that at pick 5, but the safety class I really like. Malachi Starks is somebody who early on in this process, I think people thought was a top 15 pick. He's falling a little bit in some of the consensus rankings. I wouldn't be shocked if he's somebody that goes at the top of round 2. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame has 13 interceptions over the last 2 years. I think he's another fantastic option in round 2. But it's also a great safety class in free agency. If Jacksonville wants to address the need with a Trayvon Merrick or a Javon Holland in free agency, I don't think that's the worst strategy either. So I do think this is going to line up well for them.
And as we get to free agency, the 2 in-house free agents, Brandon Sheriff, I think he's as good as gone. There's an age issue there and some injury concerns. Andre Cisco, Marcus, is the more interesting one. Now, the thought coming into last season was, man, he was coming off a good 2023. If they don't get him signed, they could franchise him. Well, that thought has obviously gone bye-bye because he was not very good in 2024. How do you assess Cisco?
Well, this has always been the knock on Andre Cisco, even going back to college at Syracuse. He's just not a very consistent player. The splashes are awesome, right? He'll make a big-time interception or a big play in the run game, and you're wowed by it. But the play-in, play-out consistency just isn't there. And safety, I mean, you look at the word safety. You want somebody who is reliable there. That's just not Andre Cisco. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville lets him walk and then maybe uses some of that cap space they've budgeted for safety to go after somebody who's maybe a little bit more reliable, even if it's a less sexy pick.
Final moments with Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team covering the National Football League. We mentioned Christian Kirk earlier. There's a huge debate here in Jacksonville, as you can imagine. Now, there's significant cap savings if you release Christian Kirk. My problem with that is, and I'm curious your thoughts, you look at the free agent market, the Jaguars are not going to get T. Higgins, I wouldn't think. No. The only other 2 guys would be Chris Godwin and Hollywood Brown, and all 3 have injury concerns. All 3 are roughly the same age. And I think Godwin's going to price himself out of the Jaguar market. So I don't know, Marcus, if you release Kirk, if you could upgrade over him in free agency.
No, and I think if Kirk was to be released, you're going to see multiple teams going after him because he is a very dynamic player that can play in the slot and the outside. And you mentioned it. It's just not a very good free agent class. And then on top of that, it's not a great class for wide receivers after round 1. Once you get into day 2 of this draft, we might only see a few guys get drafted from picks, 35 to 75. I think I would roll the dice on Kirk one more year, hope that he can stay healthy. He's obviously got a really good connection with Trevor Lawrence, and with Brian Thomas becoming the number 1 alpha on this team. I actually think that slots Kirk into a better spot in this offense. I would wait it out one more year, and if he can't stay healthy or if he doesn't produce, you move on. But he's just one of the better guys that's going to be available if he were to be released.
I assume you have the same thought about Evan Ingram. There's about a $6 million savings with him, but I, for the life of me, cannot see the Jaguars doing that. What's your thought there?
No, tight end class is one of the worst we've ever seen in free agency. So if Evan Ingram were to hit the market, you're looking at somebody who would probably command $14 to $16 million a year. And again, I know he's not a top 5 tight end. We can debate if he's a top 10 tight end. But tight ends like that just don't become available in free agency very often. I get the appeal of trying to save a little bit of cash, but at the end of the day, you would just rather have him on the roster. And maybe you feel like you're overpaying him by a couple million. It's still going to be worth it to have him on your roster when we get into these big games this season.
Marcus, final question. Actually a 2-parter. Quickly, we love quarterbacks here in Jacksonville because that means guys are going to fall to number 5. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, 1, both, or neither in the top 4?
I'll say 1. I think Cam Ward's going to go either 2 or probably 2 or 3. I still think he lands in Cleveland. My guess is that Shedeur ends up going to the Raiders at 6. But you never know. We get closer to these drafts and teams get more quarterback desperate. If free agency doesn't go the way that the Raiders want or the Jets want, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move up inside of that top 4 to make sure they get him.
And leave us with this. If they release Kirk, again, I agree that I don't think they should, but if they do, obviously McMillan from Arizona is a name that's been popular in these parts. And Marcus, he's an odd one because half the guys I talk to love him. The other half I talk to are not even, maybe even lukewarm on him. Where do you sit with McMillan from Arizona?
I'm a big fan. I mean, you watch his tape. He gets open. The ball never hits his chest. He's one of the best hands catchers I've ever seen. He's not a blazing blazing player, but that's okay. You don't need to be. I think he is very similar to Drake London, who was picked at 8 overall by the Falcons a couple of years ago. And we just saw London have a 1,300-yard season in Atlanta with terrible quarterbacks. So, yeah, I think he's not what you want from like a prototypical number 1 alpha receiver, but, man, he is darn good.
Marcus, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, the 33rd team. You're also with the Locked On Cowboys and Locked On Dynasty podcast. Where can they find your work?
Yeah, at Marcus_Mosher. Check out the 33rd team. We've got articles on the combine, free agency happening all week long, so go check it out.
Marcus, really enjoyed the conversation. I know you're busy, man. Thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.
Of course, anytime.
There are 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and Jags football.
To the 5, into the end zone, touchdown!
Jaguar football lives here. 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here from the Blue Crab Crab House. February means the Mardi Gras menu returns to the Blue Crab Crab House. Gumbo, shrimp Orleans, blackened redfish, appetizers, dessert, and more. This includes, of course, their regular menu where you get crabs from the Alaskan waters, the Canadian waters, the Southern Georgia waters. It's only at the Blue Crab Crab House. Doors open at 4:30, San Jose, and, of course, Julington Creek Road.
When it rains, it better drain. If storm drains on your commercial property aren't doing their job, this is a major liability that needs to be corrected. Call Duck Duck Rooter to have your storm drains jetted and cleaned with our powerful vac con truck. We'll clear the way for better drainage. Call 904-862-6769. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jags. Duck Duck Rooter, your fully insured certified plumbing and underground utility contractor.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my successful back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser start the week by giving the ball to the best back in Duval.
And off, Fred Taylor.
Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein & Robbins DUI Defense Firm and Monahan Jewelers on 1010XL.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a beautiful walk-in closet that's already so incredibly functional for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com. And take advantage of extended savings this month. Get 40% off and another 15% off with 18-month special financing.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Mia O'Brien here for ProJax Roofing. Here at the Superstation, we talk a lot about pros. Pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball, pro sports. But if you want a true pro when it comes to your roof, you should call Mike with ProJax Roofing. Mike's been in the roofing biz for well over 25 years, and when you call, you don't get a recording, you get Mike himself. Find Mike's cell on ProJaxRoofingFL.com. That's ProJaxRoofingFL.com. Don't rely on the third string option. Call in the starter with Mike at ProJax Roofing.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Hey folks, Hicken here for Zero Res, and if you still have a little bit of time for the hottest price of the year on carpet cleaning, maybe you had people over for the game or you're doing early spring cleaning, but in February, only $147 for 3 rooms, plus the 4th room is free. That's right, schedule now and you'll get 3 rooms for $147, and the 4th room is free. Yeah, the 4th room is on me. Hottest price of the year. Zero Res. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
15 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. We're with you till 10 o'clock, as we are every night. Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Back into the NFL in 30 seconds. Did want to let you guys know Steph Curry is on one tonight down in Orlando. The Warriors lead the Magic 89-80. Steph Curry, 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, 9 of 13 from three-point range, 43 points for Steph Curry on 9 made threes, and we still have over a quarter of basketball to go. Unfortunately, Orlando's actually playing pretty good, but who's going to withstand Steph Curry going for 43 already in the third quarter? Golden State 89, Orlando 80. We'll keep you updated, but Steph Curry, 9 3-pointers in Orlando, and we still have 15 minutes of basketball left to play. We actually will talk a little NBA, actually, as a matter of fact, coming up in about 45 minutes or so towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. My buddy Trevor Lane, he is the host of the NBA Front Office Show, and we'll talk a little Orlando Magic. We'll talk a little NBA playoff picture as well, as most teams are getting close to that 60, 61 game mark. Only about 20 some odd games to go in the regular season before the playoffs arrive. So Trevor Lane, the host of the NBA Front Office Show, will join me coming up here at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. Back into the Jaguars as well with Jordan de Lugo of Generation Jaguar. He comes up in about 20 minutes or so. A couple of things in the National Football League. So Kansas City, a couple pieces of news for the Chiefs today. Travis Kelce, it has come out that he plans to return for 2025, said he is not going out that way, which obviously means the loss in the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce not near what he was just a couple of years ago. I think clearly Father Time has caught up with him last year and again this year. But he is going to give it another go in 2025. So expect Travis Kelce's return and a little free agent news before free agency begins in regards to Kansas City, as the best interior offensive lineman on the market, Trey Smith, the former Tennessee Volunteer, has been the Chiefs have announced they're going to franchise him and not let him get out of their organization. Now, a couple of things. Number one, I have a lot of Jaguar fans on my timelines on social media and a couple of buddies that I know personally that were all in on the Jaguars signing Trey Smith. That was their one guy they wanted to get. Fills a need in the interior of the offensive line, and they were a little bummed that Trey Smith is getting franchised. I'm happy Trey Smith is getting franchised, and I'll tell you why. I've done that song and dance with this organization too many times. Whether it was Zane Beatles, whether it was Andrew Norwell, whether it was Brandon Sheriff, right? I've always been told for the last decade, 3 or 4 times in the last decade, the Jaguars signed the best interior offensive lineman in free agency. And what has that gotten us in the last decade? Sheriff is the best of the 3. Norwell was the whirlybird. That's what they did when they signed Andrew Norwell. They signed the whirlybird. And Zane Beatles was just a disaster of epic proportions. One of the worst free agent signings in Jaguar history. I do think they're going to spend money on the offensive line. I think they're going to spend draft capital on the offensive line, but I'm pretty happy that they're not going to overspend for another interior offensive lineman that probably wouldn't have worked out here either, the way Zane Beatles, Andrew Norwell, and Brandon Sheriff, all 3 did not really work out here in Jacksonville. So I'm totally okay with Trey Smith getting franchised, and good for him. A former 6th-round pick from the University of Tennessee, he is said to become one of the highest-paid interior offensive linemen in the National Football League. You know, you talk about free agency coming up, and that's in 11 days. Monday, March 10th is when negotiations can begin. Pen can meet paper on Wednesday, March the 12th. So 2 weeks from yesterday. We're 13 days away from when contracts can officially be signed. And we've spent so much time on should they trade or release or what are they going to do, restructure the contracts of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. It's important to realize as well the Jaguars do have about a dozen in-house guys that are scheduled to hit free agency. But the interesting thing to take note of there is there's only 2 starters. We've talked about Brandon Sheriff. We just did, as a matter of fact. And we've talked about Andre Sisco. Is there anybody else that's scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent that you want the Jaguars to re-sign? Well, let me throw a couple of names at you, all right? And again, these guys aren't going to be on the cover of your program. They're decent players, but again, that goes back to that whole, are they Jaguar good or are they NFL good? And most of these guys are backup special teams type guys. I'll tell you who I want them to re-sign. If you take Sheriff and Sisco off the board and you focus on the 10 or 11 other unrestricted free agents, I want them to re-sign Caleb Johnson. They brought back Heath Farwell as a special teams coordinator. I think Caleb Johnson, along with Daniel Thomas and Dewey Wingard, are their 3 best special teams players. I want Caleb Johnson back in the fold, so I think the Jaguars will re-sign Caleb Johnson. Do they re-sign Mac Jones? That's an interesting one. You could do a lot worse at backup quarterback than Mac Jones. It's going to come down to what Liam Cohen thinks about Mac Jones. And I'll tell you a local tie that keep your eye on, Kyle Trask in Tampa is an unrestricted free agent. Does Liam Cohen want to bring Kyle Trask up here to help in the quarterback room teaching Trevor Liam Cohen's system? Because obviously Trask was in it a year ago. I don't know. Mac Jones is a curious one. If Mac Jones goes elsewhere, I get a feeling Kyle Trask could potentially be very much in play here in Jacksonville. Do you want him to re-sign Jeremiah Ledbetter? good rotational guy on the D-line, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if Jeremiah Ledbetter is not back with the Jaguars. Dearness Johnson, I think you can probably upgrade there with a third down running back. Keep in mind, we never saw Keelan Robinson in the backfield last year. So you got to see what you have there, but I think Dearness Johnson is probably gone. Josiah DeGuara, again, why would you bring him back? No offense to Josiah DeGuara, but why? Give me a viable reason to bring him back. Blake Hance, kind of the same thing, although I guess if you want to bring him back to compete for a backup spot on the offensive line in training camp, maybe sign him to a one-year deal. Luke Farrell, I think they're going to bring back. I hope they bring Luke Farrell back. He kind of falls into the Caleb Johnson conversation. Luke Farrell's a good football player. For a third-string tight end, again, I think you could do a lot worse than Luke Farrell. I do hope they bring Luke Farrell back. Put him in with Caleb Johnson as guys I hope they bring back in free agency. Cole Van Lanen and Trey Jones are restricted free agents. Deshaun Dixon, Aziza Ontomolo, I'm calling Big E, number 90, you know who he is, and Joe Giles Harris are exclusive rights free agents. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. There are just not a lot of in-house free agents. 2 starters, Brandon Sheriff, Andre Sisco, I think both of them are probably gone. And of the other 10 free agents on this list, bring back Caleb Johnson, bring back Luke Farrell, I'm probably okay with everybody else leaving. So from that standpoint, there will be a fair amount of turnover on this Jaguar roster beginning in the next 2 weeks when free agency opens up on Monday, March the 10th. We are at halftime on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. Jacksonville, we will take you up till 10 o'clock. We are certainly glad you are spending part of your Thursday evening with us. Coming up next, my buddy Jordan de Lugo, Generation Jaguar. If you know anything about Jordan, he is a combine guy. This is his week. We'll talk combine, we'll talk James Gladstone and more. Jordan de Lugo joins me next on a Thursday in Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark.
The world will be watching Ponte Vedra.
And the Scheffler victory train just keeps on rolling.
Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates.
Teed up by Roundtree Sauce,
Surfside Pools,
and Performance Painting
on 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow, I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but...
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses.
Whoa.
Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is Daytona, the awe-inspiring spectacle of Supercross, and the most challenging course to witness the air-catching, adrenaline-pumping, heart-pounding action unlike any other race in Florida. Daytona Supercross. The biggest names battle it out under the lights at the World Center of Racing. Don't miss it. The gate drops Saturday, March 1st. Secure your tickets and trackside access today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or matt-jacksonville.com.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WindoWorld wants you to do. WindoWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WindoWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WindoWorld can.
And with WindoWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WindoWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WindoWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WindoWorld, and to top it off, WindoWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WindoWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WindoWorld today and get your free in-home estimate, or see them online at WindoWorldNEFlorida.com.
WindoWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
WindoWorld also offers energy-efficient doors.
What is the most populated city in the world? The answer next.
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
With a population of an astounding 37.7 million people, Tokyo, Japan is the most populated city in the world.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And just like that, the NFL Scouting Combine has arrived in Indianapolis. That is crazy. I think we're already here. Free agency is less than 2 weeks away. And the Jacksonville Jaguars officially now have a general manager, as James Gladstone was introduced at a press conference earlier this week. He, along with Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, and the rest of the Jaguar brass, now are heading to Indy for the Scouting Combine. Jordan de Lugo, Generation Jaguar, was in attendance at the press conference at the Miller Electric Center. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Jordan, how we doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a little chilly and a little sprinkling outside. You know, it's a beautiful day in Jacksonville. Feels like some new hope for this franchise moving forward.
You know, and you led me right to it. And I'm going to ask you, I mean, you and I talked basically right after Peterson was fired, 50 days ago roughly now. And even, you know, as recently as 6 weeks ago when Balky was still here, boy, the fan base just seemed like they were in a haze, right? Like there was no hope. And now the 180, I mean the dramatic 180 that this franchise has turned. I go back to that Zoom press conference, Jordan, with Shad Khan and Trent Baalke. And I compare that to the Miller Electric Center earlier this week with the introduction of James Gladstone. It is night and day, is it not?
Yeah, it really is incredible. And it's not just the fans being excited that there's something new, which that is a big part of it, right? People were going to be happy regardless of what happened as long as Trent Baalke wasn't there anymore, because public sentiment had shifted so hard against him, and really it was never in his favor in Jacksonville. But I think more exciting than just the fact that there is newness, it's where these people are coming from, their backgrounds, and really their vision for what the Jaguars can be moving forward, which they talk about all the key buzzwords, collaboration, alignment. But when you look at where they come from, it's easy to see how they can actually implement those buzzwords into action moving forward here in Jacksonville.
Jordan, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I've said this already many times. If you would ask me a month ago who James Gladstone was, I probably wouldn't have known. Or I know Joey Gladstone, right, on Full House, but I wasn't familiar with James Gladstone. And then all of a sudden, his name popped up in the initial 10 interview requests for the GM, and I started doing some research and talked to people out in L.A. and did my due diligence there. And I just really started liking this guy. And everything I heard about him from people on the West Coast is, you won't believe how great this guy is. He's the future of football. And I can kind of see their point now and getting to hear from him for the first time. I see what they're talking about. When did James Gladstone get on your radar? And do you think ultimately, is this how it, did you expect this to land where it did, where James Gladstone is the GM of the Jaguars?
Yeah, as soon as the Liam Cohen news and Trent Baalke news kind of happened at the same time, right? It was like within a day or so of each other. As soon as you start hearing Liam Cohen being the Jaguars head coach, you start thinking, okay, well, who could be the GM candidate to pair with him? Because before that, I mean, we did some thinking about who a GM could be. Trent Baalke was still in place. So it wasn't like I was going to spend way too much time getting hot and heavy in that. But as soon as they made that move, you start looking at, well, where has Liam Cohen been? Obviously, you can connect to Tampa, but Tampa was kind of trying to keep anybody from going jumping ship, if you will, with Liam Cohen coming over here to Jacksonville. So you look at LA, and that's been a model of consistency organizationally. So he was one of the guys at the top of LA's kind of front office, under Les Snead, that I quickly thought the Jaguars would have interest in, and they certainly did. And as soon as the Jaguars announced that they would interview him as part of the top 10, not top 10, but I think it was around 10 initial interviews, and then they worked it down to the 5 finalists. But as soon as he was in the top, whatever guys they were interviewing, and you start to do some research about who he is, what he has done with the Los Angeles Rams in terms of his role as a scouting strategist, and all the different things he's done there, and the impact he's had the last couple years, and how they've been able to rebuild their franchise multiple times since 2016, since he started there. And you start to get really excited about what the future could be.
Jordan de Lugo, Generation Jaguar, with us here on 1010XL. Jordan, this is very un-Jaguar-like, right? These last 6 weeks, these hires, and which is a good thing. Look, when you're 64 and 148 in the last 13 years, anything different is good. Now, will it work? Well, we'll have to wait till September to start getting results on that from a win-loss perspective. But it's certainly different looking and different feeling now than what we've had here over the last decade plus.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I don't think you've ever seen this much youth in the building. But other than youth, I think it really is kind of the forward thinking, because you don't have to be a youthful coach to be forward thinking. Just look at Andy Reid. He's no spring chicken, but he continues to push the envelope forward in a lot of different ways. And you don't have to be, in your 20s or 30s to be innovative and creative, but it just so happens that these people, Liam Cohen and his offensive coordinator, who's 29, Grant Udinski, and obviously your new general manager, James Gladstone, who's 34 years old. It just so happens that they are young, they're innovative, they're from the same tree. And you're right, the Jaguars have never really gone down this road before, whether it be under Shad Khan's leadership or even before that, right? You've never seen kind of this type of approach for the Jaguars. And you're right. We do have to wait and see how it plays out, how free agency goes, how the draft goes, how things are moving forward into the right direction into September. But there's no question in my mind that they were looking in the right places this time around to try to build this thing out for the long haul.
Jordan de Lugo, Generation Jaguar. All right, James Gladstone has to hit the ground running. They're off to Indianapolis to the Combine. And Jordan, knowing you, I would imagine Combine Week is one of your favorite weeks of the year. Jordan is a draft guy. You know this if you follow him on social media. Your biggest storylines when it comes to the Jaguars and the Combine this week?
Yeah, it's funny because if you follow the Rams at all, they're one of the teams that kind of don't send a lot of their brass to the Combine. And we'll see how that manifests here in Jacksonville moving forward in future years and all that. Because, being at the Combine, it's more about like information gathering and being able to talk with different people around the league. Obviously, you need your medical staff there so you can get all the medical exams and all that stuff done. But you can see everything on the TV copy that you need. You can get all the numbers you need to see. Obviously, interviewing as well is huge. So the Jaguars brass will be there. It's just funny to see the different approaches, like looking back at the Los Angeles Rams. But yeah, it's always exciting when Combine Week rolls around. It is also kind of a little bit of like, oh, it's all this excitement, and then you have to wait till Thursday for them to actually get on the field and do any work, which is what everybody's looking forward to in terms of covering it and seeing what these guys can do. But I'm not sure what to expect from a Jaguars-centric look at the Combine because you don't know how this new organization is going to handle everything moving forward. I think that the team needs right now, you can certainly identify cornerback, right guard. You can look at interior defensive line potentially as a need, edge depth, kind of fortifying the trenches as a whole. And then the secondary is going to be the biggest areas of need right now. But free agency kicks off in about 2 weeks from now, and they're going to be able to make some moves there to address some needs too.
I want to finish with free agency with you. Before we get there, the most mocked guy to the Jaguars at this point is probably Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan. Are you a Mason Graham guy?
I absolutely am. I think you look at building through the trenches, and he's my highest rated trench player outside of Abdul Carter, and Abdul Carter is playing edge. Are you really going to draft edge 3 when you got Josh Hines-Allen on a monster deal? You're probably going to have to sign Trayvon Walker unless you're just deciding that that's not the direction you want to move in, which would be a shocker for this team, even though these aren't the guys that drafted Trayvon Walker. What he has developed into is a very good defensive end in the NFL, right? So you would think that Carter would probably not be top of mind for them, and I don't think he'll make it to 5 anyways. I think he's going to be the top defensive player taken. Maybe Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, one of those two. I think they'll both be gone before 5 overall. And so Mason Graham, he fits the bill as, if you want to talk about like what he can be and how he relates to what the Rams have done, Braden Fisk, unbelievable interior defensive lineman from a penetration and getting into the backfield. But Mason Graham kind of has all those traits that Fisk brings to the table, but also has like 15, 20 pounds on him and can really be more stout and physical up front against the run. So you're getting a more complete package there with Mason Graham. He's the type of guy that's a 3-down defender. Yes, you have Eric Armstead, who I'm excited about getting on the interior this year. I think that could be huge for him. Yes, you have Mason Smith, who I'm excited about getting on the field more this year. But Eric Armstead is more of a stopgap option than a long-term, probably going to be here for 5 years, right? And you're probably only going to be looking at Eric Armstead here for a couple years. And Mason Graham and Mason Smith building around those two for the long term, and then having depth up front. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, what do? They just have rotation after rotational guy that can come in and get the job done at a high level. And building a great defensive front is one of the quickest ways to find success in the NFL. And if you can have 6, 7 guys up front that can get it done consistently for you, I think that's a beautiful way to do it. And Mason Graham, again, he is one of the top-rated guys on my board.
Final moments, Jordan de Lugo of Generation Jaguar. That brings us to free agency. As you said, Jordan, we're about 2 weeks away. Quickly, all the talk about Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. Do you believe both guys will be back in 2025?
I'm leaning in that direction. You know, for as much as everybody wants another outside receiver in free agency, and when I say outside, I mean, you know, somebody who aligns on the outside opposite Brian Thomas Jr., I think with a Liam Cohen offense, he's going to be able to build things around what his guys do well. And I don't think you necessarily have to have that legit 1B guy on the outside for Brian Thomas Jr. I think they're going to look at what Christian Kirk's skill set brings to the table, Evan Ingram, and the relationship they already have with Trevor Lawrence on and off the field, and say, we didn't get to see these 3 guys on the field together very much last year. We talk about BTJ, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram, and we think we can really build something in the passing game with these guys in 2025 and put together something special. So I think that maybe they try to restructure because they are veterans on pretty pricey deals, but I think that they would like to keep them both.
And again, the crazy thing, James Gladstone's been here, 72 hours, and he's got to figure this stuff out pretty quick because we're 2 weeks away from the legal tampering period, and Penn can officially meet paper on Wednesday, March the 12th. Jordan, final question. The in-house free agents is only about a dozen or so, of which only 2 starters. Common thought in the city is that Brandon Sheriff and Andre Sisco have probably played their final games as Jaguars. Do you agree with that?
It feels that way to me. I would say Sisco has a better chance of staying than Sheriff just because of, you know, the age factor with Brandon Sheriff and them probably wanting to go younger at that spot. But it's not that Sheriff has played poorly in Jacksonville at all, really. He's been pretty darn impressive in pass protection, but I think that they would like to probably go in a new direction with the resources that they have. They have the ability to really try to upgrade the interior of the offensive line and get younger and kind of build a foundation there, whereas Brandon Sheriff would just be a stopgap option. Sisco, he was headed, his second and third year in the league, this was the type of guy you were thinking might get quite a big payday whenever his time came. And then 2024 was a disappointing year. I think there's a chance that he can get himself going back in the right direction moving forward. It'll be really fascinating to see what the organization does there. And there's a lot of safeties set to hit free agency. So it's not just like, oh, well, we have to bring back Andre Sisco, and if we don't, then we're going to draft someone. There's a lot of safeties out there that could be hitting free agency. So it'll be, I think, telling to see which direction they go as to how they might try to approach defense with the safety position in the free agency period here. And one last thing about Mason Graham, not a lot of strong interior defensive linemen in the free agency class either. So I think you could look at that as, you know, kind of helping build your football team. If you can't find a free agent, go get one in the first round on the interior defensive line.
It's a busy time of year. Combine week, free agency in 2 weeks. Jordan, tell them I've been here in Jacksonville about Generation Jaguar and the coverage you guys will have in the coming weeks.
Oh, yeah. So it'll be hot and heavy with the draft, obviously, coming up this week. But you've also got free agency. It's pretty wild. But, you know, anytime that there's a reported interview or meeting between the Jaguars and a prospect, we will provide some coverage on that prospect and kind of break it down. And like you said, I mean, we've got the combine finishing out this week, and then we're going to have to spend like pretty much the whole next week just getting ready for free agency, because it's going to be coming down the pike quick as soon as the combine ends, and we'll be covering all that, and it'll be a lot of fun.
50 days since the season ended. It doesn't seem like we've had an off season to this point. Now the combine and free agency, they're going to be back for off season workouts before we know it. Jordan de Lugo of Generation Jaguar. Jordan, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Hacker.
The NBA is on 1010XL.
Franz Wagner and the Magic look for a much-needed win against Jimmy Butler and the Warriors. Tonight at 7, 10:10 a.m.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here for the best weight loss program I've ever been on. In fact, I had my monthly maintenance meeting with my coach, Kate, earlier today. That's right. I'm on the maintenance portion of it now. I lost over 100 pounds. They changed my life. Now it's about keeping the weight off. You get coaching for life, man. Even when you're not on the program full bore, weekly meetings and whatnot while you're going through the process, once you reach your goal weight like I did, now it's all about maintaining. It's about maintenance. You still get the coaching. You still get the guidance. That is what makes Awaken 180 absolutely spectacular. Look, I could sit here and talk about them all day. All you need to do is look at a photo of me in February of 2024. Look at a photo of me in February 2025. Over 100 pounds down thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. Go to awaken180weightloss.com. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, trust me, Awaken 180 weight loss.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here from the Blue Crab Crab House. February means the Mardi Gras menu returns to the Blue Crab Crab House. Gumbo, shrimp Orleans, blackened redfish, appetizers, dessert, and more. This includes, of course, their regular menu where you get crabs from the Alaskan waters, the Canadian waters, the Southern Georgia waters. It's only at the Blue Crab Crab House. Doors open at 4:30, San Jose, and, of course, Jewington Creek Road.
Everyone seems to be in a time crunch these days. Well, don't forget you can always count on the cold case at Daly's. Always convenient, always cold. Whether it's the king of beers, Natty Light, Stella, or Cigar City, or Goose Island or Bud Light Seltzer, dash into Daly's and grab one to go.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Anthony. When you've been charged with a crime, you don't have to face it alone. I'm here for you. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me. 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW. in the 904.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On February 27, 1959, Boston Celtics point guard Bob Cousy sets NBA record with 28 assists.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound & Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound & Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Got a cracked windshield? Not only is it dangerous, but did you know it's also illegal? Call Baker Glass. Mack and his crew use the best auto glass in the market, and they accept most insurance. Plus, all new windshields come with a full warranty. From cars, to trucks, to RVs, you can count on Baker Glass to be fast and friendly. Just check out their Google reviews. Come see us at the shop on Casta Avenue, or we can come to you at your home or business.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Mia O'Brien here for Pro Jacks Roofing. Here at the Superstation, we talk a lot about pros. Pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball, pro sports. But if you want a true pro when it comes to your roof, you should call Mike with Pro Jacks Roofing. Mike's been in the roofing biz for well over 25 years, and when you call, you don't get a recording, you get Mike himself. Find Mike's cell on ProJacksRoofingFL.com. That's ProJacksRoofingFL.com. Don't rely on the third string option. Call in the starter with Mike at Pro Jacks Roofing.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Hey folks, Hicken here for Zero Res, and if you still have a little bit of time for the hottest price of the year on carpet cleaning, maybe you had people over for the game or you're doing early spring cleaning, but in February, only $147 for 3 rooms, plus the 4th room is free. That's right, schedule now and you'll get 3 rooms for $147, and the 4th room is free. Yeah, the 4th room is on me. Hottest price of the year. Zero Res. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. We'll talk a little NBA. Trevor Lane, the NBA front office show, joins us in about 10 minutes or so. There's some craziness going on in Orlando. Golden State's probably going to win. They're up by 5 with 1:13 to go. Franz Wagner is going to the line to shoot 3 shots. Steph Curry has gone absolutely berserk tonight for the Golden State Warriors. Here's the stat line for the future Hall of Famer Steph Curry. He has made 12 three-pointers. He's 16 of 24 shooting overall, 52 points for Steph Curry. Paolo Banchero, not to be outdone, has scored 39 of his own. Franz Wagner's added 24. Golden State is up 3 with about 1:15 to go. But again, a 50 spot, 52 at least right now for Steph Curry on 12 three-pointers made down in Orlando as the Warriors and the Magic are coming down to the wire. And really the NBA season is coming down to the wire. Most teams have 20, 22 games remaining. So we are about, 5 or 6 weeks away from the NBA playoffs. Obviously, all eyes on Indianapolis and the scouting combine. It is rumor season. So you're seeing a lot of rumors out there. This team is looking here. That team is looking there. Denmark, I will say the Matt Stafford rumors in Los Angeles are kind of taking on a life of their own. No, we're not talking about any altercations at any Starbucks in Indy between Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport. That was a good one. I thought Schefter had a great tweet today.
He did.
He had a picture of that Starbucks. And he said his head is on a swivel. I thought that was great. But what do you make of Stafford and the Rams in general? The Rams are like putting all of their veterans, Cooper Kupp, now Stafford, are all in trade conversations. Interesting for a team that was 20 yards away from going to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I just remember Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl and Sean McVay knew that they needed to move on in order for their team to get better, and they did. And now they think they feel the same way about Stafford. I kind of feel like I'm with McVay. Like, if you feel like you have to move on, you probably feel like you've gotten the most out of him, and you're trying to see what his value is. Now, what their plan is after Stafford is the more interesting thing if you're going to move on from him. But I feel like McVay knows that Stafford has at max probably 1 year left before they have to move on from him.
You know, watching Liam Cohen, he was on with Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah on the Combine coverage, right? Basically when the Combine kicked off, right about 3 o'clock this afternoon. He was in the TV booth with them for about 5 or so minutes. You know, I thought it was interesting when they said, look, we know you're not going to give too much away, but what can you tell Jaguar fans about that 5th overall pick? And Cohen used the word creative. We got to get creative. And he talked about if they stay at number 5, you know, taking the best available player. But he said the word creative like 2 or 3 times. And a lot of people have interpreted that as, do the Jaguars want to get out of 5? Look, I think the only way you look to trade out of 5 is if Mason Graham and Travis Hunter are both off the board, which conceivably is going to be the case if only one quarterback goes in the top 4. Now, what's going to be the most interesting scenario here is if the first 4, in whatever order you want to put them in, are Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham. And then at that point, if you're Jacksonville at 5, what do you do? And does somebody want to get up to 5 to then take Shedeur Sanders, which I'm sure Jacksonville would be very much open for business. But if Graham and Hunter are both gone, do you take McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona? Do you take Campbell, the offensive lineman out of LSU? I mean, Denmark, that's probably worst case scenario, right? If both Graham and Hunter are gone at 5?
Yeah. And then Abdul Carter's probably gone too.
Abdul Carter and Cam Ward would be the other one that's gone, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that'd be the worst case scenario. And then at that point, you either take Will Campbell or you trade back. Those are the only 2 spots.
What about McMillan, the wideout from Arizona?
I don't have any interest in a receiver in the first round.
Interesting.
McMillan's
an odd bird, too, in that a lot of guys that I've talked to, like Marcus Mosher earlier tonight from the 33rd team, a lot of guys really like him. And some guys I've had on are very lukewarm on him. There is a big difference in the scouting community between the thoughts on McMillan. The one comparison I keep hearing with him is Drake London. And Drake London had a great year this year in Atlanta. I mean, you could do a lot worse than Drake London. But if you take McMillan, obviously that means you would have released Christian Kirk or traded Christian Kirk, because there's no way on this planet you would draft McMillan with Kirk and with Brian Thomas Jr. already here. That's what we're going to find out. What they do in free agency and what they do in player movement over the next month or so will absolutely dictate what they do in April's draft. More on the Combine, certainly more on the Jaguars coming up later on, and on tomorrow night's Hacker After Dark. Coming up next, let's talk a little association. Let's talk Orlando Magic and the disappointment they've become. Let's look at the NBA playoff picture. Let's talk Luka and the Lakers. Are they a viable finals contender now? And can anybody beat the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder? Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show, joins me next on a Thursday night in Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's the season of sandals and sundresses.
And the Players' Championship.
Listen for 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Leaderboard updates. Channeled by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Magnified.
And Kingfish Pest Control.
This is Daytona, the awe-inspiring spectacle of Supercross, and the most challenging course to witness the air-catching, adrenaline-pumping, heart-pounding action unlike any other race in Florida. Daytona Supercross. The biggest names battle it out under the lights at the World Center of Racing. Don't miss it. The gate drops Saturday, March 1st. Secure your tickets and trackside access today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
James Weldon Johnson, the American writer as well as civil rights activist, was born in Jacksonville, Florida in June of 1871. He was a secretary with the NAACP in 1917 and became one of the organization's most decorated leaders. He and his brother penned the widely popular song Lift Every Voice and Sing, a piece that's an anthem and an inspiration to African Americans. I'm RJ Saunders, and this Black History Month profile is brought to you by Instant Keys, fast professional locksmith service.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
This is the Mangler. Years of playing football coupled with lifestyle left my feet mangled with neuropathy.
I was experiencing burning, tingling, and numbness. I spoke with 2 foot specialists, and they told me there was no cure. They were wrong. I found Dr. Nate Riddle in Ponte Vedra. After utilizing his neuropathy treatment for only 2 weeks, I noticed a difference in my feet. I was regaining my feeling and balance. If you want relief from nerve pain, call Dr. Nate for a free consultation at Riddle Wellness, 904-395-5598.
A hardworking student athlete deserves recognition.
Catch the Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Scholar Athlete of the Week. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Franchi Show.
On 1010XL.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that's been chosen as the exclusive pest control provider for the brand new state-of-the-art Miller Electric Performance Center. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their effectiveness in keeping spiders, roaches, bugs, and termites out. When I trust them for my family and the Jags trust them for their business, then you can too. For the best service in town, call my friends at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and you got really cool things going on right now because there's new product coming in the showroom. Tell everybody about the Aprilia Demo Days.
March 11th and 12th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to have the Aprilia Demo Truck. We caught them on the way back from Daytona Bike Week. They're going to be there. Come ready to ride.
Tell everybody real quick about Aprilia.
They are a bad Italian motorcycle. Nobody's ever ridden an Italian anything and said that wasn't fun.
Check it out. Cycles of Jacksonville. All the details on their Facebook page.
The First Coast Games is an annual team-building challenge to introduce fun activities into the workplace and focus on your employees' health and wellness goals. These goals include some friendly competition, of course, including pickleball, cornhole, volleyball, flag football, and other team sports. The games will begin in March. Register your company and teams at fcymca.org.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad. Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
February is Cancer Prevention Month, and Ackerman Cancer Center will help you take charge of your well-being. Their new location at World Golf Village off I-95 now provides screenings for prostate, bladder, and colorectal cancers. Visit AckermanCancerCenter.com.
The Beach Boys, Endless Summer Gold. Saturday, March 8th at St. Augustine Amphitheater. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, the NBA is coming down the home stretch. Most teams have only about 20 to 25 games remaining in the regular season. The NBA playoffs are right around the corner. And what on earth is going on down in Orlando with the Orlando Magic? Let's talk about all of it with Trevor Lane. He is one of the hosts of the NBA Front Office Show, and Trevor's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Trevor, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Thanks for having me on the show, and this is the exciting part of the year. We're keeping an eye on the standings, getting close to playoff time here in the NBA.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And look, Orlando is taking on Golden State as we speak, but the last time they played on Tuesday, that was the most embarrassing outing of the year. Just absolutely getting destroyed on national television by the Cleveland Cavaliers, a Cleveland team that didn't even have Darius Garland in that game. Boy, that was eye-opening, Trevor, how bad Orlando played, and certainly there was some frustration from Paolo Banchero after that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, when you only not only lose them by 40, that's rough in and of itself, but when you only put up 80 points, I mean, that really that highlights the struggles of this Orlando team on the offensive end. This goes back to the trade deadline. It makes it all the more frustrating that they didn't make some kind of move to address this problem. This is a very good, maybe great defensive team that just offers nothing on the offensive end in terms of offensive rating. One of the worst teams in the NBA, can't shoot the ball, and it's put them in a really tough spot. This team has so much more potential, so much upside, but you've got to address the glaring weakness on the offensive end, and their inability to do that really shone through in that blowout loss to the Cavs.
I mean, they re-signed Franz Wagner to a max deal. Jalen Suggs has been re-signed. Banchero's next. You got to make sure you keep these young guys happy. I mean, regardless of what happens at the end of this year, they're going to have to do something in this offseason, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can't be this bad of a three-point shooting team. You can't be. You have to, in today's NBA, look, they're a low-volume three-point shooting team, and that's okay, but you can't also be a 30% from deep team on the season and expect to get by. Not in the modern NBA. They have to address that. I know they thought they addressed it last year with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, my guy from the Lakers, but, I mean, we've seen him go through slumps. This is more than a slump at this point. He's a career low from three. He has not solved the problem for them. They've got to address that this summer, find a way to add some shooting, some spacing. If you're going to invest in guys like Franz Wagner, like Paolo Banchero, like Jalen Suggs, you have to have pieces around them that will allow them to really reach the highest summit of their game. And that means getting spacing around them, and they just don't have that right now.
Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. Orlando currently sits 7th in the East. I'm a realist, Trevor. I'm a diehard Magic fan, so I've certainly suffered my fair share over the last 20-plus years, but I'm a realist. I mean, what are we hoping for here? Just get in to the play-in, win a game to get home, to get into the field of 8 in the Eastern Conference, and then probably hope to win a game or two in the first round against either Cleveland or Boston?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I would love to say, hey, defense wins championships. Defense matters more in the postseason. The Magic, they can do something here. But, I mean, Cleveland and Boston are so far ahead of everybody else in the East. It's pretty much a death sentence having to take on one of those two teams in round one of the Eastern Conference. That's going to be a rough matchup. So for the Orlando Magic, it does look like that's the trajectory that they're on right now. The Detroit Pistons have created separation to where I don't see the Magic getting up to the 6th seed and out of the play-in. So right now it's about getting that experience in the playoffs for some of these young guys. It probably won't be a long stay, but at the very least, get through the play-in, get into round one, see what it feels like going up against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference in terms of playoff intensity basketball, and then head into the summer. Hey, look, you never know in the NBA. Crazy things happen. I don't want to just completely write off the Magic, but, I mean, we saw it. There's a big gap between the Cavs, between the Celtics, and this Orlando Magic side right now.
Yeah, look, I don't blame you. Like I said, I'm a diehard fan, but that was eye-opening on Tuesday night. You mentioned Detroit. Boy, they're maybe the biggest surprise in the league, right? Certainly the biggest surprise in the Eastern Conference. What a turnaround without Jaden Ivey, mind you, in the last couple of months.
Yeah, Detroit has been fantastic. A lot of that is, number one, of course, credit to Cade Cunningham. He's been incredible. I believe that maybe it'll take till next season till he starts really getting the national recognition for being the player that he is, but I believe he should be right up there with Anthony Edwards as one of the young stars, the rising young stars in this league in terms of American players. He's been absolutely fantastic. But then from there, you look at a guy like Malik Beasley and what he's been doing for this club. He had a great game last night in an upset win over the Boston Celtics. He was fantastic. You've got Tim Hardaway Jr. providing kind of the veteran leadership and shooting that we thought Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was going to give the Magic this season. He's been doing things for them. This is a dream season of sorts for the Pistons. I don't think they go past the second round. That's probably their ceiling. But, I mean, what a huge turnaround for a Detroit team that's been really going through it in their rebuild to finally hit this level. Been a wonderful, wonderful season for them.
Out of Detroit, Milwaukee, Indiana, and New York, who would be the biggest challenger to Cleveland and Boston?
I mean, the Knicks, but the Knicks have gotten, blown off the court every time they've played. either of the top two teams. Honestly, Brian, I think the answer is none of them. I don't think any of them. It's Cleveland, it's Boston in the East. I don't think anybody else is going to really pose a challenge. Yes, on any given night, Giannis can be a pain to deal with. On any given night, the Knicks can get some things going. They've got the talent overall on this roster, but Boston and Cleveland are just so far ahead of everybody else in the East. I think we are on a collision course for a Cavs-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, and I don't think anything the rest of the East can do is going to stop that.
Couple more for Trevor Lane, the host of the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, we'll obviously have you back on prior to the playoffs, but if that 7-game series started tonight, who do you like, Cleveland or Boston?
You know what? I think the Cavs aren't getting enough respect. Obviously, the tendency is to say, well, the Celtics have done it, and so they're going to do it again. But you know what? We've had, 5 years running that we've had a new NBA champion every single year. I think there's something special about this Cavs team. The way they execute on both ends of the floor, the three-point shooting, that when they go on a tear, they're just almost impossible to defend. So look, the Celtics are great. I know they can hit another level come playoff time, but man, I have a hard time picking against the Cavs right now. They look phenomenal. I think this is a season of destiny for them, and so I'm actually going to go Cleveland in 7. I think it's going to be a barn burner of a 7-game series.
As far as out west, I know you do a lot of work with Lakers Nation on YouTube as well. Has Luka Doncic put that team in the Western Conference championship conversation?
I think they're in the conversation, and it's not necessarily Luka. Luka on the offensive end takes them to another level, and I think he's still working his way into being comfortable on this team, and that will take a little bit of time, and we're seeing it game by game. But what's really vaulted the Lakers up into contention, I don't think he's in that top tier that we see OKC, Cleveland, and Boston, and they're not in that tier right now, but they're the tier below that, and the reason for it has been the improvement on the defensive side of the ball. They've been so much better with their defensive rotations, their schemes, despite not having a true 5 out there. Jackson Hayes is their starting center right now. They're finding ways to get it done, particularly with their wings. Dorian Finney-Smith made a huge impact defensively, changing the defensive identity of this team, and LeBron James has been very locked in on that side of the ball as well. So I think the Lakers are in the conversation. Are they the favorites to come out of the West? No, nor should they be. But they're in the conversation now, and they certainly were not to start the season.
Whether it's the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Rockets, maybe if Anthony Davis comes back healthy, the Mavericks, who would be the biggest challenger to OKC right now?
Right now, I'm going to say it's either credit to Memphis. They've had a really strong season, bounce back season after a nightmare of an injury plagued campaign last year. But I'm going to say it's either Denver or the Lakers right now that I think offer the size, the physicality, and the experience that could maybe upset the Thunder. I would not pick against the Thunder in the West. They have, similar to the Cavs and the Celtics, they've been the cream of the crop in the Western Conference. They have lapped the field. So I'm not picking against them by any means, but in terms of teams that could give them a run, I look at Denver, I look at the Lakers as being a couple of teams that could give them a real shot.
Final moments, Trevor Lane, the host of the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, what does it say about the NBA? I remember not that long ago, it was all big market this and big market that. And yet you could make the legit argument right now that Oklahoma City and Cleveland are the two best teams in basketball. What does that tell you about the way the league is right now?
It tells you the NBA has gotten what they wanted to a degree. There will always be advantages with big markets. There will always be advantages with warm weather climates. There will always be advantages when we start talking state taxes and things like that. You're not going to create absolute parity. But in today's age, especially with social media being what it is, you don't have to be in LA, in New York, in Chicago in order to be a bona fide superstar in the league. And that has created more of an even playing field for these clubs. And if you're well managed, you have great ownership, you are able to build a contender, to build a winning team, to build a place where players will want to go. Look, Donovan Mitchell said, I believe in this culture here in Cleveland, and I'm going to stay. I'm not going to go try to jump and force my way to the Knicks because I think we've got something special right here in Cleveland. So the NBA, they've been pushing for parity. They want a league where all teams feel like they have a legitimate shot, and I feel like year by year we're getting closer and closer to that.
There's been a lot of talk recently, Trevor, about Kevin Durant and his future. It looks like he's probably out of Phoenix at the end of the year. What do you think that's going to look like this summer as far as KD goes?
Yeah, it's the summer of the trade. Around the NBA, we're going to see there's no cap space out there this year, save for, say, the Brooklyn Nets. So that means we're going to see a lot of teams trying to improve on the trade market, and Kevin Durant is probably going to be the biggest name out there. They are miserable in Phoenix. That club looks like they do not want to be on the floor right now. I mean, absolutely brutal stuff in the last 10 games. They're 2-8. And it's pretty clear. The writing is on the wall. Kevin Durant's time in Phoenix is done, and they're going to be moving on from him this summer. Who knows what that sweepstakes is going to look like, because you can make an argument for him to fit with just about any team in the NBA. So it'll be a really fascinating summer watching what happens on the Kevin Durant trade front. Of course, under the collective bargaining agreement, there's some challenges that the Suns are going to have to deal with. They can't stack up players with KD or anything like that. But how his market materializes is going to be one of the biggest stories of the summer. And it seems like in Phoenix, the end of the season can't come soon enough.
All right, Trevor, leave us with this. Along with KD, are there any other big names, I guess, that you're looking out for that could be moved this summer?
You know, I'm really keeping an eye on one particular dynamic, and that is the concept of teams not wanting to pay a supermax deal under the new collective bargaining agreement. We saw this happen about a decade ago with Boogie Cousins and the Sacramento Kings when the supermax first came into play. And so now I'm looking at it thinking the Mavs balked it, and most people think they made the mistake, but they balked at giving a supermax to Luka. They didn't want to pay him that $350 million. Who else? Who's going to be the next team to say, I don't want to give this guy quite this much money? Is it a team like, look, John Morant in Memphis has been brought up. I don't think Memphis really trades him, but somebody's going to. Somebody's going to blink at giving one of these guys that much money. And so I'm going to be keeping an eye on that particular dynamic. What superstar could be out there that the incumbent team simply doesn't want to pay him that supermax deal? I think that is something we saw in the past, and under the new collective bargaining agreement, something that's going to pop back up again. So I think it's going to be a really interesting offseason with maybe a few surprises in store for us.
Trevor, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the NBA front office show, about Lakers Nation, and where they can find your coverage.
Sure, yeah. Keith Smith and I cover the NBA in general on the NBA front office show. You can find us on YouTube as well as on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And then for the Lakers, I cover the every single game for the Lakers over on Lakers Nation's YouTube channel. Over on the written side is at LakersNation.com. But yeah, we cover every single game. We're live during each game, post-game shows. Fresh content out every single day, youtube.com/LakersNation, as well as the podcast feed over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever anybody listens to podcasts.
He's one of our favorites, Trevor Lane, one of the hosts of the NBA front office show. Trevor, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks, pal.
Hey, sounds great. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
And thank you to Trevor Lane, host of the NBA front office show and a big part of Lakers Nation, for joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark. Hard to believe we only got about 20 to 25 games left in the regular season for each NBA team. And the Orlando Magic, like we said, play Golden State tonight. But that was eye-opening on Tuesday, man. National TV, relatively healthy, right? Banchero's back. Franz Wagner's back. They're still without Jalen Suggs. But Cleveland was without Darius Garland. So both starting point guards were out. And Cleveland won the game by 40, man. I mean, it's 2025, and the Magic made 5 threes on Tuesday night. And I don't really care what happens tonight against Golden State or even moving forward. That was eye-opening, how bad it was for Orlando. You saw some obvious frustration from Paolo Banchero in the postgame. So we'll see, but I'm a realist when it comes to the Magic. At this point, get in the play-in, win the game or whatever game you need to get in the actual field of 8 in the Eastern Conference, and try to win a game or two in the first round. You know, that's kind of where I'm at, because you look at Cleveland, you look at Boston, you look at New York, you look at Milwaukee, and you compare those teams to Orlando, And Orlando is just simply not as good as those teams are. That's just reality at this point. Well, that will just about do it. We spent some time on the NBA, but we certainly spent a ton of time on the Jacksonville Jaguars, on the scouting combine, and on free agency. On the field work began at the combine up in Indianapolis today. Of course, we are now, 11 days away from NFL free agency. So there is a ton to do. And, James Gladstone will officially be on the job for 1 week tomorrow. He was hired last Friday, and it's come pretty fast and furious, no question about that. But spent a ton of time on the Jaguars, on the draft class, on free agency, and certainly a little bit of time on the NBA as well. We have a ton of people to thank for tonight's broadcast. Again, Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show. Thank you to Jordan de Lugo of Generation Jaguar for joining me. Always enjoy talking Jaguar football with my buddy Jordan de Lugo. And back in hour number 1, Marcus Mosher of the 33rd team. He's also the host of the Locked On Dynasty and Locked On Cowboys podcast. Marcus does a terrific job covering the National Football League, and we certainly appreciate him taking time out for us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Well, that will just about wrap it up. Certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week here on Hacker After Dark, and we certainly hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Radio professionals.
Facial.
That's just me not being able to speak.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, I've only been doing this for 20 years.
Achievers dash for...
That's ridiculous.
1010XL.
One more time, I promise.
Baloo here for Spunez Vision. Why Spunez Vision? Well,